In this episode, we are going to make Grandma's creamed corn. Okay, so for our creamed corn recipe, um, if you don't have the opportunity to get creamed corn, you don't like to buy creamed corn, this is by far the best option you can actually do is homemade. To this pan, I have 2 tablespoons of butter melting. Okay, and then once your butter is completely melted, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour into the mixture. And we're just going to stir that in to the butter mixture. And all we're doing is just quickly cooking the flour taste out of our flour. And we're just going to let that cook for about 2 minutes. Okay, and once that's cooked for 2 minutes, I've got here a 15-ounce can of regular whole kernel corn. You could use frozen corn as well. The recipe calls for about 10 ounces because this here is mostly water. So, but I actually left some of the corn water in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that can of corn. And we're just going to stir that into that flour mixture. This will just help start to heat the corn up. Alright, and then to this I've got about 2 tablespoons of white sugar, about a teaspoon of salt, and about a half a teaspoon of pepper. I'm just going to add that to that mixture. Give that a quick stir. And then to this I'm going to add 1.5 cups of regular milk. You can use cream, heavy cream, if you want to. If you do heavy cream, then I would do about a half a cup of heavy cream to 1 cup of milk. You can use skim milk, powdered milk, whatever you have on hand. And then I'm just going to turn up my heat and bring this up to a simmer, not a boil. And as I bring this up to a simmer, this will actually thicken into our creamed corn. You want to stir this about every minute to keep the bottom from creating a milk scum, and then it burns to the bottom and it turns out to be really nasty. So make sure you keep stirring your mixture about every 30 seconds to a minute. This is one of those recipes that you do kind of have to babysit. Okay, so we're about halfway through our cooking process here. And as you can see, this is starting to thicken up quite nicely, actually. And at this point is where I'm going to put in my Parmesan cheese. Now, we just have generic Kroger Parmesan Romano cheese. You could use fresh, which would taste better. But in this case, we are using this. And I'm just going to put about 2 nice tablespoons of Parmesan cheese in there. And then I'm going to just go ahead and mix this in and let that melt as this starts to thicken up into its creamed corn. Okay, this has come up to a simmer now, and I am just going to turn it down a little bit and just let it continue to thicken up just slightly, a little bit more. If you find that your creamed corn is a little too thin, You can, as it cools down, it's going to thicken up. So when you get it out of a can at the store, it's in its cool state. But in this case, it's got a nice consistency to it. Okay, so this has come up and it is beautiful. It's got a nice creamy texture to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off because that is a nice creamed corn. So what I'm going to do now is just test it for seasoning. It's delicious. It's got a nice sweetness to it. It's got a little bit of cheesiness to it. I am going to add just about a quarter of a teaspoon more salt. Give that a stir. And you can adjust this to your likings. I'm actually going to make baked cream corn, or baked corn rather. So my recipe will have other seasonings, so I don't want to over salt my creamed corn. Let's give that another taste. And you can see how nice and thick that is. It's definitely creamed up nice. Delicious creamed corn, guys. It's that simple. It's that easy. You can do this at home with your kids. You do not have to buy that stuff out of a can. It has all those preservatives in it. You can make it fresh for yourself at home.